So are you a foodie?
I'm a foodie.
But you've somehow never invested in food businesses.
No.
I've noticed that whether it was entertainment, whether it was education, now AI, and you know what you're doing with Foundry, you've always been in the thick of the happening sectors.
You have to be in the thick of things. I think it's this arm's length or not being deeply involved. There's no such choice.
I wanted to understand, in today's day and age of AI sort of almost obliterating jobs, what is the future of education and what is the future of jobs?
So I would just say, yeah, is many things getting redundant? Yeah, they are getting redundant. But I think we're missing out on the factor that if we can really take the wave as it goes, our ability to be able to get higher paid jobs and do much better is going to be the case.
But can you just double down on why India is lagging behind in AI?
I don't think we're lagging behind.
What do you see as the future for entrepreneurs over the next 3 to 4 years? What would the landscape look like?
See, I think
Okay, Ronnie, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for, it's a nice venue that we're chatting here on. And food is always a good place to start, right?
It is. It's a great conversation starter. So are you a foodie?
I'm a foodie, hardcore foodie. My family is a foodie. My wife is a foodie. My daughter is a foodie. My son-in-law is a foodie.
But you've somehow never invested in food businesses.
No. I can't say I have. No, not really. No.
Not a good...
No. But I don't think I connect the two. I mean, the palate and the brain are two different
Work
contexts.
differently.
Yeah. And sometimes it's nice to have something that you can enjoy. Otherwise, you go to a movie theater, and I was always thinking of it as work when I was in media. So at least in the restaurant business, you can't say, etc. No, but I haven't thought about that.
But talking about your journey and the businesses, I've noticed that whether it was entertainment, whether it was education, now AI, and you know what you're doing with Foundry, you've always been in the thick of the happening sectors. I don't know how you managed to do that. When entertainment was a thing, there was UTV.
But you need to be in the thick of things. How can you be in the thin of things and we actually do anything in that? You have to be in the thick of things. I think it's this arm's length or not being deeply involved. There's no such choice. And if you look at most people, whether they failed or they succeeded, it's always thick and it. And I think it's also, a lot of people say, oh, you moved into this sector. And my favorite saying is the grass is never greener on the other side. Because my core is you got to make your own grass green.
Okay, our food has come.
Yeah, Gujarati thali, as I told you, is my favorite, but definitely South Indian is next in line for that. Looks good.
Your idli looks really good. By the way.
Yeah.
I've already started eating my dosa.
I'm so hungry. Nibbled on it, so go for it. I'm also going to go for it.
So we're a KTR, so we are having the KTR dosa. But where do you generally eat? Like, what are your favorite restaurants in Bombay?
Actually, I would say for Gujarati thalis, the one at Kalba Devi is fab. The one on the first floor where you have to wait for 45 minutes in the corridor before the guy looks at you and says, 45 minutes, 50 minutes, wait. Fabulous Gujarati thali.
What's the name?
It's a Thakkars one, but it's one of those original ones out there. Yeah. But it's in Kalba Devi in the middle of nowhere. Even Google has a problem getting you there. So that's one, I think. Yeah.
And you like Japanese also?
Yeah. Japanese, I think, is an evolved one. I love it. But I think it would be Gujarati, South Indian, Japanese.
And then Japanese. Okay,
and
nice.
then Indian. And I think I've switched off continental food. And of course, there's no such thing as American food ever.
No.
They never had it. Didn't have any food in life that they can talk about.
I don't have South Indian outside because my parents are South Indian. I used to have dosa every day growing up.
Yeah.
So I can't eat dosa outside, but this is really good.
Good stuff. These are also very good. Very, very nice.
But coming back to, the sequence of your journey, education and now, of course, the eventual takeover of Fun Academy and what you're doing with upGrad. I wanted to understand, in today's day and age of AI sort of almost obliterating jobs, what is the future of education and what is the future of jobs?
See, but if we keep saying obliterating, that's a scary thought for everyone. So I would just say, yeah, is many things getting redundant? Yeah, they are getting redundant. But I think we're missing out on the factor that if we can really take the wave as it goes, our ability to be able to get higher paid jobs and do much better is going to be the case. What we're doing today, we wouldn't have thought of as a communication medium, right? It would have been on a television studio. The context of a podcast has moved to a different level. So I think today, I mean, it's a whole new chapter of what does it do for jobs? But I think first, if AI is replacing things, then I think it's not replacing it, it's only augmenting it. I think we'll have to get used to that thought process. But for me, I think the ability for, at least in upGrad, the way we look at it is there's AI in education and AI, both is a combination there. But I think the ability to be able to look at how everyone upgrades themselves is really what we're looking at.
So recently you had this discussion where you did mention that, it's important for people to understand that there is some amount of self-employment that they should be looking at.
For sure.
So, at a time when there are, I think, 9-10 million graduates every year entering the workforce, and I'm talking about across the board, right? If you look at youth unemployment, for example, today it stands at 14% male youth unemployment.
Yeah.
That's a very high number.
Yeah.
So how do you expect young people to navigate this situation where on one hand, cost of living and inflation is hitting the middle class, and on the other hand, there are much fewer jobs than there were, say, 10 years ago?
Yeah, I guess maybe my only way of saying that, and even in the past interview, I wanted to just sort of clarify. The only way I would say that is, firstly, I identify with that thought process. So it's not like young, I'm looking down and saying somebody's young. I think first we need to accept that that's the problem. Now we'll have to find a solution. If we wait for somebody else to give a solution, it's not happening. So if you accept that as your first thing in life, कि यार solution नहीं आने वाला है, तो what am I going to do with this? That will be the first part for you to then start joining the race.
Taking action.
Yeah, joining the race of it. Because today I think we're all going a little bit round in circles. So then I'll do a little bit extra this, then I'll try this, then I'll try that, etc. That's not going to happen because you're not going to get jobs. So I think the ability to then, what I was saying was be self-employed. And I know when I was saying, for example, that you should look at also having a separate job, it was like either follow your passion and make it a profession and balance it off. Now, a lot of people will say, yeah, I'm working a 12-hour day. How can I work an extra job? There is no answer to that thought process. The fact of the matter is, you're working a 12-hour day, which means in some way your job is a threat because you're working at that level and somebody's going to replace that and technology will replace it. So you're going to head towards the binary one. So instead of you saying it's easy for you to say from the outside that, yeah, I'm doing a 12-hour job, then I travel, where am I going to do a second job? Start thinking. कि choice नहीं है आपके पास.
Okay, so a youth today has no choice. How should they think? In what direction should they think? Because you have employed thousands of people across your businesses,
but I've also
right?
been first self-employed. So I'm saying when I started off, there wasn't that kind of choice. So I think today, when you look at a situation of less choice, like if that's not what I have in mind, you'll move in that direction. So I'm saying, yes, you're going to have to work for that 12 hours and see whether you are the ability to have a second job, and not a second job, but just follow something else, which is, and I'm not saying that as a stopgap. It is like you'll have to balance that off. Because what will happen, and I think employers are the last people to change their mind. Yes, people in companies will always want to go with process systems and say, no, you can't work. And they'll have to understand that the benefit of an employee feeling less stressed about his job being at stake is a happier person coming to work.
Yeah. Fair.
And if he's a happier person coming to work, he or she, he'll give much more to the work than even if he's doing a side gig.
Fair.
That's number one. And two, I would be very happy if that person has got an external exposure on something else because he'll add value here. So yeah, it's a benefit. It's a cyclic process. It's a high concept, but we don't have a choice. So that's, I think, if we keep it as a thought process, it won't be there. If we can really push it hard, it can go somewhere.
So talking about the education business, right? I want to understand in today's day and age of AI, how do you use AI in education to augment learning?
Yeah. So see, look, I think most people look at education in the offline space, university, college, and curriculum space. So in that, you're going to have augmented courses that make you relevant. And I think we need to go all the way down to school to 6th standard, 7th standard. We'll have to start there. We'll have to start with concept of self-employment, concept of entrepreneurship, and concept of AI and tech understanding from the 6th, 7th standard onwards.
Okay.
Whether it's in a Zilla Parishad school or whether it's in a private institution. And they can't be a privilege both, because this is that opportunity for India that to take this rural-urban balance off. Because if we can just implant these new technologies, it's okay if they haven't really studied or finished the. If we give them those practical knowledges today,
It
to as much
democratizes
the
it.
have-nots with the haves, it will change the destiny of India. Fundamentally, it'll change, because those kids anyway are not going to go through the curriculum, so you might as well give them the practical knowledge. So I think if you imbibe it there, you imbibe it from school, then you imbibe it in college. If you have to do your curriculum that you have to do it, but you'll have to spend 30% more time for this to be rounded, which is back to, I'm doing a 10-hour job, where do you want me to go, something else? It's not like, oh shit, the world is at a really tough place, but whatever I have to do, I have to put more hours for. No, you have to be a little bit smart about it. But today, I think that 30% curriculum that we'll add in there will make the destiny for Viksit Bharat more than saying everyone should be in school today.
So I get asked this question a lot by parents who have children who are, say, teenagers, right? They are today genuinely confused what to do with their children, in the sense, what should they learn? Where should they study? Recently, there was a news piece which said that MBA courses fees is dropped by 50% because of low demand.
Yeah.
So if you had to advise these parents, what should the course be that their children...
Well, first advice, I think, would be first, listen to your kids. Have the conversation there. Stop coming there to the dining table thinking you already have an agenda and this is what you need to tell them. Also, stop thinking it's onerous for you to have all the answers, because they will have a point of view. And you'll be surprised at that point of view. And it won't be a one-time conversation. It will be a 6-month conversation over a period of time. That will be my kind of starting point.
And sometimes you learn a lot. In fact, today's day and age, they know much more than you.
Yes, I think there are a lot. The clarity, the simplicity and the clarity is there. The confusion is because the multiple paths are there. Confusion is not, confusion sometimes you feel is whatever you do today is not good enough. Whatever I do, somebody's doing it better. Whatever I do, somebody's moving it faster. That restlessness is going to be there with people, and that sense of dissatisfaction again is going to be an emotion and a sentiment that will remain. It's now there. However good you're feeling, your glory is going to be fleeting, because the next day you feel somebody else is doing it better.
You also feel that?
I feel that every day. I felt that day from it's been one of my sort of mottos in life, that you got to keep edgy. You got to be a little bit in that context, and that's natural. That doesn't mean that you need to be stressed all your life, and it doesn't mean you need to put in more hours of work. But you just need to be pragmatic about it.
Yeah.
So I would say, I think confusion is coming because of multiple choices. Confusing is coming is because you're also very obsessed with how will your parents think and how do I position myself to the world.
Yeah.
So that whole layer has to go away, because life is too complicated right now for people to start also wondering about how do I appear to people, what will I think. Just go with what you need to do. Because anyway, the journey is going to be a lot roller coaster.
So in this, the reason I'm asking you is because you are planning to invest in a lot of these new age AI startups, right? I was going through the list and there's anything and everything. There's drone delivery, there is space tech, there is a lot in education as well that you're looking at. What are the spaces that you feel there are going to be opportunities, both for entrepreneurs as well as for employees?
So, for me, the element of investing is a little different, because firstly, it's not with the fund approach in mind. And it's not in this, oh, can I make a quick buck? And it's not angel investing. I think for me, the obsession is a couple of things. One is just my sense of external focus, of understanding what people think and what are the different sectors, what's happening in those sectors, because there's no other way that you can do that. And again, I go into the depth of everything else. So I may be a 1% shareholder or 10% shareholder. I love to just understand the depth of that business, not get involved with the business, but get involved. Second, I think today, the world has changed enough where people are going to find the opportunities to do well in their own business without fundraising. And I keep saying that because most of us still look at it as a benchmark that if I'm running a successful business, somebody is backing it and I go for funding. The probability of a need, 90% of the businesses are going to be much more where you don't need too many people and you don't need too much of money. That's a phenomenal ecosystem for people to be in right now. And phenomenal for founders to actually feel I don't have to be every year in 2 months in investment mode. And that's a very important part.
So which are the sectors where you don't need, you can keep a team tight, and you also don't need so much funding?
I think many sectors are going to come in there. You can look at consumer products, you can look at technology, you can look at whatever else. There are things where you will need a little bit of capital investment, but there is a part where you won't because you will be able to be in business faster. Therefore, you'll raise your invoice much faster than you ever bid. But this pre-money concept or this pre-revenue concept is shrinking. And people can get into business more. If you see some of the new economy companies, they're growing at 300, 400. This whole barrier of 100% growth, 200% is gone. It's now 1,000% growth, 2,000% growth on the basis of what you want to do.
You're talking about like the platform companies,
And I think my strength is that when I'm looking at the investments with the companies and the founders that I work with, I think I bring a different level of empathy and value add, which is much more constantly and always putting myself in the founder's position. So that ability, and again, if I look at it without a fund, my conversation will never be about raising the next fund. Most of the conversations with VCs will be about something where you still want to say, okay, so now if you need this, where do we go there? Of course, everyone advises you on building a business, but more. So I think to me, at this trajectory where we stand today, those are what I think I get excited about. Understanding what the industry is about, looking at externally and adding value.
So since you're spending a lot of time understanding AI and the different industries that, are sort of blossoming in AI, right?
Yeah.
In India.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're right. As you said, there's drone, there's robotics, there's deep tech, there's space, and a lot in AI, whether it's a little AI in education or AI in employment or jobs, there's a lot of that. So I think on about the 8 or 9 companies that I've invested in the last, I would say 6 to 7 months, over and above some of the carry forward that I had from the past. One of them being, to me, Lenskart now has been a journey for 10 to 11 years in the whole context, but it's something that I've nurtured over a period of 11 years, as an investment. The founders actually have really run it in every sense of the word. So I'm the complete outsider. But that was my start of what I wanted to do there. And I think the value add today in each of these sectors for me, it just allows me to understand. Look what's happening in space today and in India. And again, I think we're in the top 5 countries in the world when it comes to space. So we shouldn't lose that opportunity. We can easily lose that opportunity. AI is not something we're going to be able to be a proprietary. We'll have to be involved with it because whether we like it or not, the capital funding that's happening in the West is just too high. But in space, we can definitely have. In robotics, we can definitely have. In drone, these are places in which India can have a massive footprint and a massive amount of strength.
But can you just double down on why India is lagging behind in AI? Now, there is such a big case to be made, right? Because we have engineers, we have the best talent,
I don't think we're lagging behind. I think
why hasn't India been able to build, say, an Anthropic or any large, say, Google, Meta, Alphabet? You can name it, right?
Let's go back. Google and Meta are now,
of course,
multi-decade organizations that have started with anywhere else. So when you have that kind of market and you have that kind of consumer strength and platforms, you can go about it in a very different manner. The American market is slightly different. So I'm not making excuses for that thought process, but I do feel that just because you have 8 American companies or CEOs coming to India and talking about how big they are, doesn't mean we need to feel small.
Fair. I'm saying, why can't India build a company in the AI space? There's China doing it, there's the US doing it. I'm not saying at the scale at which they're doing it, but even we're lagging behind, even in terms of innovation, right? Or would you disagree?
No, I think we're innovating to a pretty good extent. The size of the market and how we demonstrate it and how we commercialize it, here's a problem. So you're thinking of Anthropic because of the revenue at which it got to. Here, to revenue mine the ability to do what you want to do is always a little limited. But I don't think we lack the innovation ability to the level of which people have been saying they have. I think it's a cup half full. I don't know whether we need to win that battle and look at global scale. That will be a different challenge. Part of the reason is that we go about incorporating our companies in Delaware and Singapore, which there's no reason for it. Because half the people are now re-registering the companies because they're figuring out this is where the market is. So I think it is a mixed bag. But there's still a lot of innovation happening here. Do I think, can we win there? No, which is why I said that in some of the sectors like space and the other ones, I feel those is where we can win because it's also very territorial. It's also very local.
So when you say win, you mean build for India or build in
I
India
would
for the
build
world as well?
Build in India for the world or build for the world also. This because I don't think that geography is going to be a restriction anymore. But I think the ability to do it with a base from India, because this world is flat concept is gone. Everyone is getting much more territorial about what they want to do, whether it's China or America or even the smaller countries. So we'll have to be able to build something that has got homogeneous market. You can't really succeed in the world if you haven't succeeded in your home country.
Fair.
And the reason why China and America have built global organizations is because they've been huge first in their own countries.
Correct.
If you don't do that, there's no test. So when some other companies look at global footprints, or whether the Godrej has done it over 20, 30 years, or Bharti Airtel says exactly what, Sunil Mittal quite contritely said today, that I'm not an IT company, and I'm not going to keep dividends and buying back shares. I'm going to grow and grow internationally. I think that's where you can go. But now telecom is a very different sector. But when you're looking at some of the other sectors, it can be very different.
So since you interact with so many entrepreneurs and, young entrepreneurs through the foundry and through various businesses, what do you see as the landscape in entrepreneurship in India today? Where are the gaps and what more needs to be done?
Gaps are many. The gaps are many because the gaps are huge, actually, and they're many, unfortunately, or fortunately, I would say, because that means there's a great opportunity. But look,
you can be candid. It's okay.
No, I'm only going to be candid because that's the only way we can take it from the gaps are many. Firstly, I would say the gap on mindset and risk taking is still very high. So that's the first problem. Everyone wants to have empirical evidence that they're going to be successful, which is never going to be the case. So I think this element there will have to change, but that's an ecosystem change. The second is you also feel.
Can you double down on that? So what in the ecosystem needs to change for an average, a young entrepreneur to have more risk-taking capacity?
Firstly, I think he needs family support, mental family support. And I don't think that's happening in many other cities and countries. Second,
because
I think
there is a sense of
and a fear of failure, which I would take it even further down to saying lack of self-confidence. Self-confidence and self-conviction can change the needle for anything. And there's no recipe, there's no tonic that you can build on that. There's no supplement you can take on it. You'll have to do it on your own. But more than the fear of failure will go away if you have self-conviction and self-confidence.
Yeah.
So that self-confidence has to appeal from your own self. Sometimes it is because you're pushed to the wall. Sometimes it's exactly that. So I'm saying, so what if you get unemployed today? And it is a crisis at that point, but from that, something will happen. I think the whole family ecosystem for support, psychological support is very high. Because the push still at that early stage when you've grown up in a joint family is you want to please the people around you, and rightly so. And they feel the best thing for you is for security, which is plan B.
Get a good job.
Which is get a good job. Or get a job. The good is getting subjective today. The point
a job is good enough today.
Yeah, and whether you'll have one 6 months now, not because of AI, just because that's how the world is moving. There are no longevity guarantees there either, right? So I think that's the first part where I think self-conviction, self-confidence, one.
So one risk you said is one gap you said is that the risk-taking capacity of entrepreneurs is still not as high as what we're seeing in, say, the US or China.
No, I would still say the self-conviction is much more than the risk-taking ability. You need to be able to move your self-conviction that I can do it. I'll have to stick it out and I will do it. That self-conviction, if it changes, it can change. I think the second one is people still draw themselves to the top 4 or 5 cities. Geographically, we've kind of epicentered ourselves in these top 5, 6 cities. Most countries, there are top 100 cities or top 70 cities or top 60 cities if you look at that. So here, at least the ones that are really capitalistic in that. So I'm saying this, the ability for people who are not coming from the top 10 cities, their ability to feel that they are better placed to actually run their businesses and start a business there, that penny has to drop with people. I think that again, everyone feels I need to migrate somewhere, I need to go somewhere, I need to do something. If that changes, that can make a big difference. I think the third part is family businesses, which is a huge legacy thing in India, all right? In many ways. It could be when you're a small scale industry, or you could have a restaurant, you can have a business, or you can be a family business. So this second and the next generation today is at a huge crossroad. But they're a crossroad because if they feel I go back to my family business, I'll have to toe the line. And I think if we can break that part there today, where the elder generation, they're giving up, everyone has to make their own mistakes. So if you're trying to forsake and say, but this is how it got built, now I want somebody to be a clone, that generation is getting alienated. And then that generation is getting more conflicted because they want to start something on their own, but they need to look at these as resources, but they won't get these resources because the sense of moral blackmail comes in that says, but you have a family business, and there could be some exceptions. So this family
And then
business,
you don't even take those risks and think out of the box, because then something has worked for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Why?
but it's such a powerful ecosystem, this family business in India, that if we unleash that, it'll unleash entrepreneurship, which means that that generation has to feel that actually I want my person to go out, think about it, come independently. Not that the best learning will happen under me. The best learning may happen not under me. Then those people will mushroom, and those businesses go to 10x in scale. They can go to 15x in scale, and they'll spawn other businesses in that context. And I think the fourth one is today, there is a lot of an ecosystem of the 35-year-olds, the 45-year-olds, and the 55-year-olds who have actually seen experience and success. They need to have an ecosystem. Yes, there are about, I would say, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 people who want to be in angel investments and funding. But that ecosystem of more people, I would say, not going to mutual funds, but actually figuring out how to be angel investments in some way will increase the ecosystem.
Are you done with? You hardly eaten.
No, we're talking, but I think I'm going to finish this at a later stage. It was very good.
But there, what is really good here is the coffee.
Okay.
So I'm going to take you there for a cup of coffee.
Okay. It's a nice little tea brunch.
Yeah. Now is our coffee time. So
we switched. I think when we started off,
Cheers.
I was having hot, you were having cold. Now I'm having cold. I don't know if it's because of the conversation flow. Blow hot, blow cold.
Blow hot, blow hot.
Yeah.
But this filter coffee, iced filter coffee is pretty good, huh?
Very good.
Yeah.
And no sugar. So
I don't know why you're not having sugar. It doesn't matter. You know that, right? Little bit of sugar.
It does matter. Sugar does matter.
But little bit of sugar is okay.
That's
You gotta
like
live
saying
a
age
little.
doesn't matter. Sugar does matter.
But you gotta live a little. I mean.
Oh, yeah. I don't have any, I'm not pulling any punches when it comes to, we just started off by saying I'm a foodie. So yeah, I don't hold back on that.
But I mean, it's so interesting how we talk about jobs and AI and infrastructure and all of that. But the overarching problem, what we're facing in India right now, and it is a serious one, right? I know we don't talk about it as much, but there is this huge income inequality that is a big problem. The income gap between the rich and the poor is really growing now. And there is a middle income trap that people are stuck in. So a lot of the rich people leave India. I mean, you've seen the highest number of millionaires in India leave India in the last 2 years. And the poor people are those that get freebies, subsidies, whatnot, right? So it's the middle income that suffers the most. From your vantage point, what is the solution to this problem?
I think if we call it the word resentment, I think it is more opportunity resentment than even wealth, right? I think the question is, you feel the opportunities are going the other way and not coming to me. So if you're asking for a solution, I'll term it in a different way. If we are talking about assuaging people's resentment, then that's a different conversation. So to assuage people's resentment or identify with them or empathize with them, I would say, the frustration, yes, is at that middle level where you're not there and you're not down either. And I don't think you're not down either because of subsidy. It's just that you think you deserve more. So the anxiety or the stress that says somebody is more wealthy than me is a process that you can look at. But the anxiety is much more that I could be doing much more. Am I getting the opportunities? So I think that comes the solution. If that's what it is, the opportunities are massive here. So the question is not the resentment, because you're not going to get richer by looking up or down. I think you're going to get richer in mind, soul, body, and wealth if you look at opportunities. So I think that layer that feels the sense of resentment should look at the fact that India, does it offer me the opportunities or it doesn't? If somebody wants to go abroad for tax reasons, wants to go abroad for living reasons, it's a free country, it's a free world, we can do whatever they want to do. And I don't think it's either unpatriotic or patriotic. But the opportunities are here.
But do you think this opportunities are in India's story is something that
It's
has
not a
been kind
story.
of oversold?
It's not a story. I started again with a conversation that you have to make your grass green. That you can't say the grass is greener in Europe, or if I go to Silicon Valley, I'll be a much better, higher chance of success. You'll be trampled over. The competitive environment will kill you out there. So no, the grass is not greener on the other side. And yes, there are opportunities here, but there are opportunities in so many sectors that people have not been able to even pronounce today.
Like?
No, we just talked about solar. We talked about so many things here, but what the glamour industry, and I'm not talking about just media that you and I come from, but I'm just saying people look at it from a different point. The opportunities today that are happening. So space for everyone looks like, for example, where one has made an investment, everyone looks at it's only for a few. But, you know, because of lower orbit today in space, that whole sector has opened up. So you've got people that are actually figuring out how to collect waste management in inner space. Now, it's not a conversation that you can have, but it's a very low-hanging fruit. So if you look at every single opportunity in India and where the market is going to be, because if we are a 4 or 5 trillion economy that's going to go to the next level, that spending and that is going to happen is going to create a lot of opportunities. So the solution for a people who are looking for resentment and inequality, I think the opportunities are there. And I want to say for the next guy who's going to respond immediately to this statement when they hear me saying it's easy for you to say, I'm saying, no, it's not easy for me to say because I've been there, done that, and lived it. And with that sense of experience and conviction, I can say, and it's not just about hard work, because I know the whole context here is how much hard work you need to do. You need to be switched on, you need to be dedicated, you can do whatever else you want to do. So I think the opportunities are there. So I think for people who feel that sense of resentment, just get on with the opportunity and get on with what you think. This question of how rich or how poor, yes, from a vantage point can look a little bit lopsided, but you can fix that. I do want to state that it's now pretty much in most countries also, unfortunately. Because if we're 8 billion people going to 10 billion people in the world, that gap is going to happen. Now, why you can say, why should the whole continent of Africa, where almost all our genes originated from that country, all of us have all originated in some form of the continent of Africa. Why is that today the least in terms of wealth from that point of view? And I think it's been a question of the mindset and the mood and the civil unrest in most of the countries. And therefore, today, I think the
So it's something that always existed and it's kind of, it continues.
Yes. Because this resentment is only because you're not thinking on your own. The resentment won't be there because if you go away from mental poverty, you'll move on in life.
That's a great phrase. So you want to just tell me a little more about mental poverty?
I think that's because of our Swades Foundation, where really we focus on the fact that when you're looking at an ecosystem, you sometimes feel helpless. So when you feel helpless, even if I give you 2 cows, or I give you 5 goats, or if I give you water for irrigation, what you can do with it is suboptimal. Then and I first figure out what's your aspiration level, what do you want to do? Because if your aspiration level is subsistence, then you're going to have it very differently. So I think today for everyone who's looking at the cup half full and why me and why am I not in that vantage point, I'm saying the opportunities are there. Take it, let's grab it and do it. And I'm saying I've lived that because if I'm today here having this conversation and maybe of some sense of privilege, it's because I've walked that talk for a long period of time and looked at every single opportunity and grabbed it and seized it and fallen off the cliff and done all of that. And most of the people who've gone there, I don't think everyone has understood. It's not to many people, maybe to the manner born, but a lot of people in first generation entrepreneurs have had the incredible amount of cathartic failures, which 99 out of the people who would feel that resentment don't even know what the feeling is.
But how do you take a risk when you have a loan to pay, an EMI to pay, cost of living is going up, inflation is high, jobs are scarce?
I didn't start with any money. I borrowed all the money for my daughter's education. Okay. I don't think I owned a house, and you took an interview with me and you asked me and I said, I didn't own a house till I was 55 and I was always in a rented apartment. So I can say with conviction of it is very tough and you do need some tailwind along with you, but sitting down and looking up and saying, why not me is not solving for it. And therefore, I love the ecosystem. And therefore, I'm saying outside of what I'm totally consumed with in my day job, the reason I feel for me, it's not about anything else. It's to participate and actually open up the situation where the opportunities are here. And no, I don't think India is a talk through opportunity. It's a given. Any country that hasn't reached its pinnacle has opportunities. The people who are digging and finding it, they're getting it.
Do you think the government in some way needs to make it a little bit easier for people in terms of not just getting jobs? I know you had this conversation where I know your thought process is that the government doesn't really need to, it's not the government's responsibility to guarantee you a job. Many people think differently. I think you can't really absolve the ecosystem entirely
the government is 25% of the employment market in India. So in a sense, they're doing whatever they have to do. The reason you have a NEET problem and your test prep problem, etc., in the whole country is because everyone is taking a test to be able to get into the government job. So I think government is a 25% employer in this country of almost everyone and the most secure job. If you look at that. But the environment of a government is to be a catalyst. If it's not a catalyst, you don't want it the other way. You don't want it a very dictatorial way also, because that will not give you then capitalistic can't be that bad. It's not evil. You need a bit of that to be able to breathe in the entire thought process. That's all I would say. But today, I think the opportunities are there.
As far as education is concerned, since you are doing a lot in that space, someone once told me that the reason why India is in a very unique position where we have the highest number of graduates, but we also have the highest number of unemployed people. So, the graduated unemployed, as they are called.
Yeah.
Someone told me the reason for that is because education in India has not evolved enough to make the young graduate employable.
Yes.
Do you agree?
Yep. No, totally. There's no question about the fact. And it's not an easy job. And you can't throw the book at the formal education system or at the regulatory body either, because of the simple reason that you need that base standard. I think we haven't moved with the times of that 30%, 40% of pragmatism. Private universities and private colleges, and many of them have actually gone through that. So that little bit of innovation with private education has changed that and is adding that 20, 30% to make you more job ready. The context is today where that discipline and that competitive environment in college and learning, schooling has not been to that level that it needs to be there. And we're so busy finishing our curriculum that we haven't got there. So yes, I think that is a huge problem that needs to be solved. That's the one place actually where the government can make an incredible role. Because if they make it more mandatory, then they're blessing it. If they're blessing it, it'll happen. If you look at it as an outside situation, look, we're in the online space, and today still we are looked at the outsiders. And I'm saying why? Because a company like upGrad or online education is going to solve the problem in millions. But for everyone who's come into that halo of education, most people feel it's frivolous. It's okay. I've done that in media where I think it's been 10 years of headwind before everyone thought it was a respectable sector. So we're into our maybe 6th year or 7th year of that conviction. But that can help a lot, because the minute the government puts a stamp of credibility, everything moves in a different direction.
Is that the reason why you also decided to do the acquisition of Unacademy? One of the reasons why?
No, I think that was part of a normal business process. I think the context of fundamentally why we're going to have to solve this problem at scale and get in there and being able to augment learning and education to make it practical is not getting solved with just a consolidation in a business sector or in a sector in a particular industry. I think it's going to be a much more deeper than that.
Okay. Ronnie, it was a pleasure speaking to you, but I'm not going to leave you without asking you a couple of final questions and, of course, finishing up. You're almost done with yours, but mine has become cold coffee now, by the way.
Yep.
So, if you had to wrap up and tell me, you're spending a lot of your time now in new age sectors, whether it's space tech, whether it's AI. What do you see as the future for entrepreneurs over the next 3 to 4 years? What would the landscape look like?
Yeah, I think the landscape is looking better and better. I think it's looking better and better because there isn't a time and place today where you can start businesses in a shorter life cycle, scale much faster with less people and with less financial resources. And if I take these 4, and I think that's why I'm back in the context of trying to work with and be active in the venture capital and private equity space is just for those reasons. And then with that, you can guide and work with people.
So the 2-3 sectors where you see the highest employability and the highest revenue generation opportunity over the next 3 to 4 years.
See, I think revenue generation will do a lot with what you want to do in tech. But the consumer story is a little untold in the country too. So I would say there's a little bit of that both. And then there is the greenfield one, which is the high impact one, whether it's renewable energy or whether it's solar. Those are ones which have got no glass ceiling, where if you do one thing, it's a little bit like China. You need 1 or 2 or 3 sectors that are just going to take the hood out of everything else.
And it's happening, right? The import substitution theme is big, as we were discussing, especially in rural India, whether it's with solar, with renewables, with power.
So those are incredible sectors there. The sectors that I think I'm looking at today, for me, it's more about my personal preference is a little bit more in the cutting edge and in technology, anything that is AI or space. These are some sectors, but I think the consumer story is also untold.
Within consumer, what do you look at? Because there doesn't seem to be any white spaces now in consumer. Everything, it's so cluttered across the board.
That's because you looked at those established brands. But the fact of the matter is today, more and more, the American market grew because you narrowed down to an age group of 10 to 14, which people don't think about here. So in the consumer space, there's going to be narrow and narrow, and I wouldn't call them niches. I would call them actually to be very strong segments where you can open up markets to do what you want to do in the whole consumption pattern. Whether it is in the edible part or whether it's in everything else that you do in consumption. I think that's one definitely untold story. I think the whole context of rural and therefore the mass India context is the second one. And I think the third one is anything that's going to be tech enabled. But as I said, these 4 factors for me, there isn't a time where I would repeat that where with less resources and with less people and in less time, you can do much more. So I don't want to sound like a Winston Churchill kind of a not before if so many people in so many places gone to the beaches and done that. But yeah, I think we should be at war when it comes to entrepreneurship today.
Your conviction and your energy is, it's admirable, to say the least, because having a brand, building a brand, your personal brand, right, and staying relevant for 30 years, 40 years is not easy. And something you've managed to do. You managed, whether it was in entertainment, whether it was in education, whether now what you're doing is Foundry, where you're, encouraging young entrepreneurs, to build their businesses.
Yeah.
Being at the right place at the right time, I guess it's a skill set. Not everyone can do it. And what would you attribute 2 or 3,
Well, come with me for the
virtues?
rest of the day and I'll tell you how many wrong places I'll be in today before I get to 1 or 2 right places. So if today, right now, in the right place, the right time, maybe between 9 a.m. in the morning and 1 p.m., I was in at least 3 wrong places. But the point is that I'm in multiple places. And I think that makes the difference.
So spread yourself.
Not
your
spread
surface
yourself,
area.
not spread yourself, but you need to be out there.
You need to be out
You
there.
need to be out there. And I think if I've stayed relevant is because I wanted to do that. And I don't think today you don't
have a choice.
Yeah. I can't express to people who keep talking about it that, boss, just think about it that you don't have a choice. A lot of the crap in your mind will go away when you start thinking about what's my choice. And nobody owes me a living. The minute you do that, so yeah, I enjoy it also, yes. And I plan to do that for the next 20 years.
So did you always know that you would be successful even when you weren't?
No, I don't think anyone can give that answer. But no, I don't think so. I mean...
No, there are people who tell me that when they had nothing, they always knew they would make it big. I don't know why, maybe...
No, I would say I had incredible amount of self-conviction for me to be dead sure that however deep the abyss, I will get out of it. Rather than saying how big and how successful I would be, I think if you can really calculate, and I don't mean that again facetiously, and I'm not making it sound like it's a prosaic thing, but really, to me, the self-confidence of being able to get out of your abyss is 10 times more powerful than dreaming about, I knew I would always make it big.
But was that because of conditioning? Was it something that your parents taught you?
Yeah, I think, when you start with that low sense of entitlement, when you don't have any resources, and when you come from a lower middle class background, it helps you. But I think that changed over a certain period of time. In the last 10, 15 years, I can say I was in a much more comfortable position. But still, I would say, today I still retain the ability that my self-confidence to get through the worst of a situation, which can happen anytime. You can be anywhere you want to be. Today, for people who are wherever they are, the fall off the cliff will be steeper, as you've seen today. And you've seen that today, that people who were there, not much can happen to uproot you. No, it's become history where people who are right at the top can be right at the bottom overnight.
Yeah.
That was not there 20 years back. That is happening in a very different context. So the ability to then see that from that abyss also, no problem, I think that will be phenomenal.
Wow, that's great. Thank you so much for the learning. Every time we meet, I learn so much from you. And hopefully the next time we meet, you'll be doing newer things in newer sectors and more relevant sectors and teaching us along the way. So thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Lovely.